Hi everyone, and welcome to the alumni webinar series. This is a very special one because we are looking to do a series on alumni working on COVID relief. So this is the first webinar in that series. We're calling it Social Entrepreneurship During the Pandemic: Unusual Heroes, and we have with us Alina Alam. She's from the MA Development 2015-17 batch. She's also the founder of Mitti Cafe, which is a chain of cafes that provide experiential training and employment to adults with physical, intellectual, and psychiatric disabilities. Mitti cafes are spread out all over India, and in the last 3 years, they have served 5 million meals, thereby creating awareness about inclusion with every meal served. The warriors are with disability in the pandemic have cooked and served 1.3 million meals to poor and vulnerable communities, proving the magic of abilities as a result of economic independence and dignity. In this short span, Alina has already featured in the Forbes list of 30 under 30. She's a Commonwealth Youth Awardee and has won awards like NCPDP, Mindtree Helen Keller Award, Times of India She Unlimited Award, Rotary Exemplar Award, and a host of others. So, welcome, Alina. Good to have you with us.
It is my pleasure, Nikhil, and thank you so much for the introduction. It's always nostalgic to be back, with the APU family. Always feels amazing. And just, I'm already so energized.
Yeah. A quick word for those who have joined us today. Couple of rules. So please be on mute during the webinar. If you have any questions, you can type them in the comment section, and you can have questions at any point of time. Just put them in the comment section. In the end, we'll have a 40-minute session of interaction with Alina, and in the end we'll open it up for these questions. So put them in the chat window. We'll cover them all in the end. We are also recording this session, and this will be uploaded on the alumni portal, uh, on the alumni website. So if you're not comfortable with your video being seen out on the internet, then please turn your video off. And you're free to keep it on though. And at the end of the session, if you run out of time and you still have more questions, we can create a special interest group around this topic on the alumni portal, and the discussion can continue. All right. So welcome, Alina. Uh, it's good to have you with us. We have been planning this series for a bit now, like looking at how you know uh, social entrepreneurship. A lot of people from APU end up get opening or setting up some venture of their own, right? And usually they tend to be social ventures. So a lot of them have seen challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So in case of Mitti Cafe and your work, how has the pandemic been? How has it shifted some of the challenges that you face?
So, Nikhil, thank you so much for the question. But do you think it'll help if we start with like a introduction with the video so that people get an idea of what we do on ground? Do you think that would help? So I
Absolutely
can
makes
quickly
sense.
share my screen. I mean, that will
All
help
right.
set a context. So I won't have to say what Mitti Cafe does, and then we could get on to your cool questions. So let me just quickly
Makes
share my
sense.
screen. And if you all can see my screen, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Right. Okay. There are over 17 million persons with disability in India and over a billion across the world. My name is Alina Alam. I started Mitti Cafe in 2017 with the dream of showing the world the magic of abilities. I wanted them to see the mirror to their true potential much beyond their disabilities. I wanted to provide a space and environment where they could fail, learn, grow, devise solutions. as a model that is community driven, the success or the failure of which is directly dependent on the community. And what better than food to connect people to people? Food is a medium to create awareness about inclusion with every meal that we serve, as well as generate livelihood opportunities for wonderful adults with physical, intellectual, and psychiatric disabilities. The point is that it is so important for businesses to realize the importance, the essentiality, the power of inclusion while they're growing their human capital. We call it Karuna meals or the compassion meals. It gives me immense pride to share that our team have served over 13 lakh meals to the economically vulnerable and the homeless this pandemic. The problem really is the disability in our perception that stops us from seeing their immense potential and the magic in their abilities. Every person wants to be valued and deserves dignity. At Mitti Cafe, our pursuit is to inspire people to believe in the inclusive ecosystem that we promote that could be emulated anywhere across the globe and could change millions of lives. So the question is, are you willing to take responsible steps for your business towards a path with purpose?
Thanks for that. That's a great introduction to Mitti Cafe and the work you've been doing. So tell us what got you there? What made you start this?
Well, I think a lot of culprits are sitting here, on the webinar. I think APU has been a big culprit in provoking me to do what I did. Going back, I think I remember I was in my final semester waiting for placements, and then one of one of my favorite professors, he shows us this one documentary that changed my life. So I get to meet this guy. So for those of you all who don't know him, his name is Nero. So Nero was this emperor in the ancient Roman Empire, and mighty, rich, would win one war after the other and the other. And then one day he wins the biggest battle of his life. And when you win, what do? A party karte ho, so you celebrate. So Nikhil, he decided to throw a party, and he invited the who's who of Tinseltown. He invited kings and queens, princes and princesses. And as evening befell, Nero had this idea that, boss, we need some lights to make the party happening. So he decided to burn waste to generate light. He decided to burn the prisoners of war and the poor people who were captured, who he considered no more than waste. I think I must be like 23 then. Sitting in that classroom, watching this documentary, I realized that the problem is not Nero. So you could equate Nero with atrocities, injustice, all the not so nice things about this world, because there'll always be Neros in this world. The problem, as I could see, was Nero's guests, as to how thousands of them could sing, dance, and drink when fellow human beings burnt and died. And the bigger realization for me was when I realized my reality. I realized who I was. I realized I was one of Nero's guests. That is, if you feel something about anything, and if you're not willing to take action, everybody has their reasons. But you need to know that you've taken a side. And that side is a very painful one once you realize which side that is, and that is that of the oppressor. I decided I could not continue to be Nero's guest. I had conversations with my professors, with my family, saying that, maybe, I wouldn't want to sit for placements, and, I just want to do something, that helps me understand myself better, that helps me be content about my journey, 10, 20 years down the line. I want to find myself. I started volunteering with organizations working in the inclusion space. And I realized that, boss, the problem is not that the statistics where there are 7 crore plus people with disabilities in our country, or over 1.2 billion across the world. The problem is not that. What the problem is? The problem is the disability in our perception that stops us from seeing the magic in their abilities. So I wanted to create a model that is visible for those who can't see, tangible, interactive, and the success or the failure of which would be dependent on the community. Going back to the APU classrooms, where you understand a participatory approach, a community driven approach for any change or development to happen, a sense of ownership that the community has, is everything that I tried to include in Mitti Cafe. And why did I choose food? I mean, I could have opened a darzi ka dukaan, I could have done so many things, because food is something that connects people to people, it connects civilizations, such a common denominator that connects your loved ones, strangers to strangers. So food is a medium to create awareness about inclusion and generate livelihood opportunities for persons with disabilities.
I'm sure all students at APU go through some moment when they, this hits them and they are geared to do something, but not everyone takes the step, right? So in your case, was there something that worked to your advantage, or why would all of us think along these lines? Many of us think along these lines and would want to do something about it. So in your case, what helped? What were the factors that made sure that you were able to do this and you got it done?
So I think a couple of characteristics which would be common across, most entrepreneurs that, one would come across. One is adamance. I think Ziddi Hona is very important, and to be able to question. I think, in the classrooms at APU, outside the classrooms, you were provoked to question and you were always thirsty for answers. And, I think, that adamance really helps. Second is that, when you start your journey as a social entrepreneur or even, an entrepreneur, we're generally very scared. And what I'd say is that, that's the best time of your life. When you're scared, when you're desperate, that's when you are the strongest. Desperation, scarcity makes you more creative. It invokes a leech-like attitude in you where you are shameless. You keep asking for help. Because I personally believe that, today, whatever Mitti Cafe is, it is not because of Alina Alam. I mean, it is because of an Azim Prem University. It's because of my professors, my peers. It is because of the local electrician. So my first cafe was in this dilapidated tin shed full of generations of rats. I started my journey with absolutely, no funding. So empty pockets, failed sales attempts, multiple rejections. And it was the local electrician who refused to charge me that 300 rupees to repair my second-hand fridge. 90% of my equipments were donated by the community. Professors, students, strangers in Hubli. So my first cafe was in Hubli. That's again another story by. But the student community helped me clean up that tin shed, or the local printer, he refused to charge me money for translating that thing, the vacancy pamphlet into Kannada. And then I went from door to door, shop to shop, distributing the vacancy pamphlets. He said that when you start earning, pay me double. And I kept that deal. So it is the community that enables you to grow exponentially. But as an entrepreneur, I think desperation is your biggest armor, the best armor, the strongest armor that you can get. And ask for help. You will be amazed to know that, money, networks, all of that, I mean, they are the easy bits. It is, the battles that you fight within. When you know that irrespective of anything, you don't lose hope. You keep asking for help, have a leech-like attitude, be adamant, and a lot of things will eventually take shape. Most things do.
Words to live by. Thank you for that. So how has COVID-19 affected and shifted some of the challenges that you have been facing?
So I don't know how many of you all know our model. So our model is very simple. We have these cafes within corporate tech parks. So we are within a Wipro, Infosys, Accenture, Wells Fargo, all ANZ Bank and so on. So now we had 13 cafes run by adults with disabilities in these corporates. Once you start, we're a non-profit organization, but once you start, our unique model is that you don't need money to run the cafes anymore. It is self-sustainable, captive audience, Falana Dhimka. So it's all simple. And 13 of our cafes shut down, which meant that we had 116 direct employees at Mitti Cafe. the only earning members of the family. Many of them were rehabilitated from the road, so they were permanently living in our accommodation. So many of our adults with disabilities were the only earning members of the family. So for us, the biggest challenge was to ensure, survival. This I'm talking about in March, when 13 cafes they just shut down, and so that was definitely a challenge. And but yeah, I mean, as entrepreneurs, you know that there would always, of course, nobody nobody anticipates that there would be something like COVID. But we did 2-3 things, Nikhil, which really helped. One is that we went back to our roots. I spoke about how influential the community has been to get us to where we are. The local electrician, the local printer, the student community, professors. We realized the power lies in the community. So we started our first retail fundraising campaign, and I could actually take a separate session on fundraising because fundraising and sales, how important both of these are in whether you're doing business or a social business. We reached out to the community saying that Mitti Cafe belongs to you. You all decide what is going to happen with Mitti Cafe. So in less than 15 days, through our fundraising campaign on Milap, we reached out to the community. We could raise over 9 million, with which we could support our team members. The second interesting thing that we did was that since all our cafes were in corporates, we realized that the corporates, the 2 saal, 3 saal, it'll not open. So we have to pivot immediately. We reached out to our ecosystem of mentors, well-wishers. We asked them to give us access into their residential complexes, give us access into their networks to get us into hospitals. And we started 2 cafes in a public space because our bigger challenge was to ensure that our people with disabilities, they continue to earn with dignity. They don't want tools. And so we started 2 public cafes. We started 2 cafes within hospitals. We started gifting as a vertical, which we had never done. And gifts made by, people with disabilities, partner NGOs working with people with disabilities. Now we're getting them all, about 100 of them, into an online platform, selling gifts and giving them B2B market access. But it happened during COVID. So, I mentioned that we've also rehabilitated people with disabilities from the road who were either begging or were homeless. They've been working exceptionally well. In fact, interestingly, I don't know, some of you all must have met some of them at Wipro. So we have a cafe at Wipro also. So they permanently live in our accommodation. And one of them, his name is Hemant. He's got cerebral palsy and autism. This was last March. He comes to us and he says, Didi, log bhooke hai aur hame khana banana aata hai. So this boy with autism, he tells me that people are hungry and we know how to cook. And he had a vision that if we start cooking, nobody will be hungry. I mean, that was his dream, right? And he has an intellectual disabilities as well as a physiological disability. So we started with a few hundred meals, and while you mentioned 13 lakh meals, and I mentioned 13 lakh meals in the video, but today, as I'm talking to you, our team of adults with disabilities have cooked and served over 2 million meals, which is over 20 lakh meals to the economically vulnerable, to daily wage earners who've lost their livelihoods, to healthcare workers in hospitals. And every 25 rupees that we raised for a meal, 6 rupees went towards the labor cost to pay our team of adults with disabilities. That is another part of, when you talk about innovation. So for us, livelihood is our key. It is our focus. You have to really keep a focus. So even in something like Karuna meals, where we're serving those in need, are, going back to our vision, we want to create awareness of our inclusion. Persons with disabilities are warriors, COVID warriors today. The first time, this has happened in the world, that people with disabilities are always considered कि भाई इन लोग को तो हमेशा support लगेगा. Today they are serving communities in need, and this is the power of believing in people. This is the power of empowerment. And while they do this, they're also earning with dignity, because out of every 25 rupees that we raise for a meal, for a Karuna meal, 6 rupees goes towards the labor cause. So yeah.
Absolutely. So like any entrepreneur working in this space will have to be agile and innovative and creative while trying to negotiate these changes and adapt, right? For this. Makes sense. So how has, like, while doing all this, I'm sure that there were times when your team morale might have been down and you might have struggled to get them to see that there is a future and there's something that can be done. So how did you deal with that? How did you manage, team welfare and the impact this is having on your team.
Right. So your team's morale going down, not, I mean, every day cannot be like a sunny day. These are givens, right? But what always helps, and, for those of y'all who want to start like, your business, invest in your people. Because for us, when we study about a participatory approach to governance, a participatory approach to running your organization, a participatory approach to running a university, the importance of it is what I could ascertain. So I'll just give you one small example. So there was this girl called Sabiha. She's got multiple sclerosis, which means she's got a very severe disability. She has no control over her hands or her legs. Now Sabiha, one day her mother calls me up and she tells me that, madam, iska tabiyat theek nahi hai. She's not feeling too well, but she's still wanting to come to work. So we have very peculiar HR issues. People want to come to work. And I took Sabiha aside and I tell her that, Sabiha, don't worry. Don't come for a week. Don't worry. I'm not going to cut your pay. What she did to me has changed my perception about entrepreneurship. She scanned me left, right, and center, and she tells me, you think I come here for money? Job after job I've been rejected, for, and today I know the value that I get to your table. She's a single mother. She tells me that, every day I go and I tell my son the stories of my galore. You think I come here for money? I couldn't even apologize to her, Nikhil. And, that is the day when I realized this was, when I started my journey, that people don't do what they do just for money. You give them a sense of dignity. You give them a sense of ownership. You make them feel that they own Mitti Cafe. Make yourself as an entrepreneur irrelevant. Give them the power, and you will see that they will stick by you in your toughest times. Today, a Sabiha, she doesn't work with Mitti Cafe anymore. She has her own kirana shop, and she's employed a person with disability. And our atta chawal for both our cafes and Karuna meals comes from Sabiha's shop. So it is, caring about your people and giving them an opportunity to grow beyond you, and giving them the sense of ownership that they deserve. When we even talk about displacement, right? Like, we've studied about displacement in college. And we say that, hey, if they are displaced, then we compensate them. Why can't they also be shareholders in the company while, they are growing? So, these real life instances provoke you to, understand what is fair, what is not. I personally feel everybody at Mitti Cafe, whether it's a Bhairappa, Kirti, Rupa, they own Mitti Cafe, and because I feel that, they feel that too. They will never abandon you. In your good days, no. In your bad days, never.
Absolutely wonderful. Like, if you can manage to get your team to in this situation, grow by themselves and set up something that empowers others with disabilities, that's like something else, right? Can you share some other stories of people you've been working with and how they've shown resilience, work through this? Yeah.
Right. So Nikhil, just so that everybody knows, our since we're in the food industry, our work time starts at 4 a.m. in the morning, and like I said, that we have very peculiar HR issues. I mean, people want to do overtime. People want to go out and serve people. So for us, a lot of people ask us that, you're working with adults with disabilities. Why are you making them work? Aren't they so vulnerable? And I say, no, they have an agency to choose whether they want to serve the people. Whether they want to serve people, because there are people with disabilities who were working with us, they're at home, and we are still supporting them. Because for whatever reasons, for example, somebody with a Down syndrome, that immunity doesn't support them to go out and work in the field. But, somebody with a single hand, somebody without legs, somebody on, who's wheelchair able like a Sadik, they can absolutely go out there and work because they want to work. I would just, while I'm talking to you, there are two immediate examples that I could, think of. So I remember my first day as, an entrepreneur when I started Mitti Cafe was also some other girl's first day. I'm talking about the first day of sales. So I remember the day that she came in for the interview, that girl, she came in crawling because her family could not afford a wheelchair. If you would give her the pen, her hands were shaken, it would fall. Today, that same girl sitting on her wheelchair, she manages 10 other people with disability. She's the manager for our first cafe. Her name is Kirti. And while I talk to you, not in fact, the next time you should call her in. I mean, she's a motivational speaker, a celebrity in Hubli, and she goes around telling her story, of resilience to the world. Another wonderful example that I can think of is, in fact, I don't know whether some of y'all noticed Lan. A lot of y'all would know Lan, but he was there in the video, and he knows Lan is from APF, so he knows our team members very well. And he was a part of a very important occasion that we had at Mitti Cafe. So while we talk about a lot of gloom, I would also want to mention that last year we had 2 marriages at Mitti Cafe. So Mitti Cafe has played Cupid at a lot of instances where Rupa and Bhairappa, both of them have dwarfism and motor disability. Ratna and Baswaraj, both of them are wheelchair able. They got married. So when we get in people, okay, the world seeing their abilities, it's at a later stage. The bigger challenge people is to make them see the mirror to their abilities, that they are beyond their disabilities. They are just so much beyond what the world tells them in terms of what they can do and what they can't. Imagine all of us have been through lockdowns, right? And we feel that if we're at home, that's a problem. If we feel restless, if we're not going out, oh god, I mean, how will we work and how will we earn? People with disabilities have been in a lockdown for ages because of the perception of the community. So, I mean, that needs to change. And, with Bhairappa, when he came, he was rejected at 7 job fairs for people with disabilities, which means 70 plus, 80 plus odd jobs, which is post which that we got lucky. When he came and he did not know the concept of wearing slippers or even brushing his teeth. Today, that Bhairappa, he leads our entire team at Infosys. He's found the love of his life in Rupa. She was working at Wipro. In fact, we had the engagement of Bhairappa and Rupa at the opening of our Wipro cafe. And of course, in the pandemic, they are our COVID warriors. They are cooking, packing, and serving meals to those who deserve so much more. I won't call them the needy. I feel that as a community, they have done so much for us. When we talk about our daily wage earners, when we talk about healthcare workers, it is just our duty to give back.
Absolutely makes sense. So many wonderful stories, right? Like of how things have worked and how things are, like you managed to pivot a model or get things to change so that you responded to the situation and got something to work. Have there been times when things you did not work? Because there's a learning in that as well, right? So what are some of the things that you've done which did not work out as expected? In hindsight, you would probably do them differently.
Nikhil, so many. And before I say anything else, I would say that so I get an opportunity to speak to a lot of students, who've got so much of energy, so many people who want to take the entrepreneurship route. And one thing that I tell them, and I would want all of y'all to know, is that it is not, the idea can be as simple as possible. I mean, what is so hassle about an Amazon or a Uber or a Flipkart? But these are very simple ideas, right? I mean, no idea in the world is unique. So, when you say that, oh, you have to get an innovative idea, falana temka, nahi. It is 1% the idea and it is 99% the implementation. And of course, there are, different entrepreneurs have different styles of working. I can speak about myself. I have sworn by this that, the only way to overcome fear and to know is to do. So, when Mountain Dew says ki dar ke aage jeet hai, or you have a slogan like just do it, I absolutely swear by it, because those practically work. And you do not need money to start. Or you don't need a lot of money to start, and you could capitalize on the resources of the community, of your ecosystem, of even strangers, by just asking for help. Like I said, 90% of my equipments of my first cafe, when I had no money, was donated by the community. The ration was donated by the community. How? Because I believed that was possible. Because I went and I asked 10 people and 2 people agreed.
Absolutely. So, you've spoken of community as a big part of Mitti Cafe and how it has shaped you before and during the COVID. So during the pandemic, can you share some instances of how the community came together to revive things and get things back on track?
So with everything terrible that we've seen, such gross mismanagement from so many angles, we've seen lives lost, we've seen people suffering across the world in our country, people who are who are not able to afford healthcare and suffering, people who are able to afford oxygen cylinders yet not getting it. But amidst all of this, Nikhil, I think the country, the world should not forget one thing, that people, strangers stood up for the other person, people who didn't know the other person were there for each other, irrespective of your religion, caste, gender, geography. I mean, people just went crazy. I mean, with compassion, with wanting to do something for the other person, irrespective of whether you're economically sound or not. I mean, in our case, what I personally believe in is that for any impacts to happen, so we were not like, today if we've served 20 lakh meals, we've sent out about 35,000 ration kits. All of these are done by persons with disabilities, but it is so important to realize that we couldn't have done it without our allies. When I talk about our allies, it is, you talk about a Goonj, you talk about a Give India, you talk about common people in the community, who, all of them, I mean, for you to grow your impact exponentially, you'll have to find a way to bring together all these stakeholders, whether it's the government, whether it is, volunteers, local politicians, or the community members being the most important. Because often what we realize, like we fail to realize, is that we always into the diagnosis mode, that we know that this is the problem with this community, and we know the solution also. But that is such a fallacy, that is such a problem, because we taking away the voice from the community, we taking away the agency for the community to choose what they need or what they want. There may be communities who don't need cooked meals, there are communities who need ration, whereas there are communities who need cooked meals, there are communities who do not need water bottles, there are communities who do. So basically giving the voice to the community, involving the community. So across all our interventions, the community is at the center, where whether it is our customers who come and pay at the cafe, whether it is the corporate giving us the space, whether it is our donor, whether it is that person with disability or their family members, everybody is we try to bring them into the ecosystem, try to give them some role, that they feel involved, they have a sense of ownership, their voice comes out. Otherwise, the solution would be a pseudo solution, and you will not do justice to the people you want to support. So basically, bringing them all together is the key. And how do you do it? You do it by reaching out. And as simple as it may sound, a lot of people, they feel that it's a mammoth of a task to bring together people, but that's the only way you can cut down on a lot of time. You can save a lot of resources, and resources are combined.
Yeah, when you mentioned the bit about like the community coming together, and you believing in your workforce and making sure that they had the agency to do, and therefore you saw results like one of them went out and started a venture by themselves, right? So I can see that the community has rallied around Mitti Cafe, has from inception till now worked with you, right? You've been working with them, responding to them, and getting things done. So I'm sure this, while you're doing all of this, it takes a toll on you as well, right? So as a business owner, you have your set of challenges, but as a person, your family, your household, how have you been taking care of that?
Right. So I think this is such an important question, Nikhil, such an important question. So, as we work, sometimes we so into it, right? We just, forget to stop, ठहराव लाना, to stop and reflect, to introspect, it becomes difficult. Because you're so much on the move. Like the last year, it was all about pivoting, innovating, being on the field, doing things, failing, basically the things that have worked out, ensuring that they strengthen. So you're always into doing, and you just stop reflecting. You stop caring about your health, you stop caring about your relationships apart from work. you ignore your family members, and I am guilty for doing all of that. And while I say it is so important to get a mentor, or a coach, whoever that person may be, who understands you, with whom you could be candid, who can absolutely haul you up, when you're doing so much and you stop reflecting. Because while you're on the move and doing so much, you stop realizing that the only way to accelerate even more is to stop sometimes and give yourself some rest. So I think a balance is, it's a non-negotiable. You have to. Otherwise you will burn out, you will break down. And often it is very difficult, at least I'll speak about myself, for me to do it by myself. So in that case, I have, a lot of entrepreneurs, fellow entrepreneurs or my mentors, who basically have the agency, and I've given them that power to, stop me, hold me up, when the pace is too fast. And it is very, very important to stop and also to introspect. That's a non-negotiable. And I would go back to one example, and I will not take the name, but when I started my journey, I was rejected. Of course, we had our university's social enterprise cell, which was extremely supportive in basically making me believe that I could start something on my own. But once I was out into the real world, I remember I applied to hundreds of incubation centers, and I couldn't get through even the application round of even one. And then finally I got through one incubation center. I will not take the name, but it is important for you all to know what happened. So there were 3 judges, and I got through the pitching round. And as an entrepreneur, you feel that, oh, you've this is it, I've made it to this, and now iske baad to there's no looking back. So I made it to the pitching round, and I pitched. And this was when Mitti Cafe was just starting. And there were 3 judges, and there were various parameters, and 3 judges, very well known, high credibility, basically, it was a fan moment for me, when I was in front of these 3 judges, and, they were scoring me and I was pitching. So it was like a 5-minute pitch, and I could see my scores at the end of it. There were various parameters. There was the business plan, there was scalability, a lot of other things. And the last column was passion, on which they had to mark you. On all the rest of the things, it was out of 5, it was really horrible. Any guess how much did they give me out of passion? Any guess? And the 3 judges, they gave me the same score. Out of 5, the same score. So what was the score? And in all the rest, they gave me laddu marks.
My guess would be 5, right? Like, what else?
No, you guys are very kind. Thoda sa
like, I'm sure you had the same level of passion back then, and if you had spoken in front of a panel with the same level of energy and the same level of passion for your work and the ideas that you have.
I got 1 out of 5, and 3 judges unanimously gave me 1 out of 5 on passion. And I went back home and I cried. I was like, yeah, but the passion to guru hai yaar, that's my pride. I don't have money. Connections nahi hai. I don't have experience. I don't know what capex and opex is. But passion to hai. How did they not see it? And often, Nikhil, like I said, at the beginning, and I would reiterate, money, networks, all of these are the easy bits of entrepreneurship. If you're at it, if you're like a leech, you will get it. You will get at it. Those are easy. But what is difficult? It is the fight within. And what I have come to understand over time is that, the heart versus brain thing, I feel, I've come to believe, and, this is again from personal experience, that your heart often has more gray cells when it needs to than your head. And I have always led from my heart, and that is something that has always worked out for me. And while I got the 1 out of 5, I came back home, and, I could empty myself by crying, by, thinking that, am I right? Or, is the world right? Is this thing right? Is, what I'm hearing right? at that point of time, having positive people around you is very, very important. While we say Nindak Nihari Rakhi Anand Kuti Chavai, which is, where you say that you need to keep people who criticize you near you, it is important. It is very, very important. But what is also important is to have an ecosystem, an incubator, or friends and family, who would just listen to you rant. And that's so important. And I have been fortunate to have a family like that. Of course, they want me to come back to Calcutta more often, but growing up, we didn't have a lot of money in the family, fortunately, which enabled us to basically appreciate the other important things in life. So every time they tell me anything, I say that, we have seen you doing things for people when, during Eids, we did not have glittering attires, but we still saw you, I'm talking about my parents doing things for others. And I don't think that is ever rubbed off. And I think they left without an answer. And, I always have something to combat them asking me to come back home. But important to stop, important to have a mentor in your life. And the mentor doesn't have to be experienced. A nice person, positivity always helps.
Everyone sees the side that works out, right? But the story you shared, that side doesn't always come out. So there's so much to learn through these, right? Must have been so difficult for you. Thanks for sharing that. And you spoke of the importance of having a network of entrepreneurs, similar-minded people, a mentor, surrounding yourself with positive people. Are there other things which have helped you stay focused, like pandemic, right? All right, that was the start of your an entrepreneurship dream, but
Right.
sustaining it and sustaining it through a pandemic, that what else kept you going besides all of this?
Nikhil, from the beginning to the end, remember that if you're desperate, if you have that fear, it is the best thing that is happening to you. We as humans have this crazy, absolutely absurd sense of adapting, of surviving. And it works the best, when you are, you're basically boxed with circumstances where you have to act. And a circumstance like COVID, I think it has got brought out a lot in a lot of entrepreneurs, who were desperate to not give up. So I think desperation is the key. And acknowledging that desperation is the key, and to not give up. And another thing, I don't know, a lot of people may rebut me when I say this, but a lot of people talk about self-confidence. Okay, I have very little confidence, and it's important for me to bring that out. I have very, very little confidence. You have to see me, even while I'm talking to you, my hands are cold and I'm sweating. But I realize, I'm like a parasite. You draw out what you don't have from the community. And for me, another thing that has always worked out, again, this is very personal, but faith has played a great role. You call it an energy, Bhagwan, Allah, whatever. But having faith that there is something out there, you just have to tie your camel. Hard work is a non-negotiable, but after you tie your camel, whatever happens, you don't lose hope, because it's his will, has always helped me. And basically drawing out all the goodness from people like y'all. I think I am very good at sucking out all of this. And when I don't have confidence, I get confidence by looking at all your faces. And for those of y'all, you feel that y'all don't have confidence, it's okay. I am in it, and you don't have to have confidence. The community has enough of that. Reach out, draw out, be a parasite, have faith, and keep at it. That's the thing. Whether you want to become a politician, whether you want to be a good student, whether you want to be a bad student, whether you want to do community work, anything. Your first year is the best year, when you'll fear the most now. Like, this time when the pandemic happened, it felt like I'm starting Mitti Cafe all over again. Before the pandemic, corporate houses, 140 square feet, we just took like 80 hours to cut the ribbon and start a cafe after the signing of the MOU. Simple, bindas, no problem. And then all corporate cafes shut down. But because it did, it opened up so many more opportunities. We went digital, we started public cafes, lot more awareness. So good things will happen to people who stay at it. And it is not, what is difficult is to not do, is something that people don't realize. The easy part, which we feel is difficult, is not difficult. If you do, it makes it easier. So 99% implementation, 1% idea.
So much to learn, Alina. The point about being a leech, I think it makes a lot of sense. When you don't have everything, you can make sure that the community and people around you give it to you and you get things to happen. Thanks for sharing that. We'll go to questions now. I don't want to run out of time, so a lot of questions have come in. Scrolling through some of them. One from Khader Imran. He's asking, what are the challenges? Before that, if you have any more questions, please put them in the chat window. We'll take them now. So Khader Imran is asking, what are the challenges while starting a cafe? Do you need special government approval or licenses to start with a specially able team?
It's very simple. What we are doing at Mitti Cafe is nothing, difficult. And, that is the message that we want to send out to the world. Anybody, Nikhil can start it, Kadir, you can start it. And we will give you all the knowledge possible. It doesn't have to be a Mitti Cafe. Licenses to बहुत simple होता है. FSSI लगता है. You need a shops and establishment. I will get you like a consultant who will do it for you for ekdam sasta. Those are the easy parts. The difficult part, which is, again, if you're passionate about the cause of inclusion like I am, it will not be difficult, is to, like I said, that, when people with disabilities come to us, of course, the end game is to make the world realize the magic of their abilities. But before that, you need to make them realize the magic of their abilities. So, that is, of course, challenging. And, a lot of people ask me, hey, how do you provide training? Do you have like a specialized training module? Of course, we have all of that in place now, because, to get funding, you need all of that. But let me tell you this. They have, when we talk about training, it is so important for the employer to get trained first. And I give all the credit to my team to, whether it's a Sabiha or a Bhairappa every day or a Kirti, they have taught me so much. I have been trained, and it's possible for anyone. Inclusion is not difficult, it is not expensive, and a society, unless it is inclusive, cannot be developed. So it is pseudo development unless, the most vulnerable factions of the society are taken care of, unless they are given opportunities, unless they are embraced. So, and we all can be a part of inclusion. It's not difficult, and it is essential.
Kadir, Imran, if you're planning to open some cafes, let me tell you that you will not be allowed to do so till you complete the whatever is left in the campus. Okay.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. There's a question from Diksha Maharani. She's saying, how do you manage to keep the consistency of your food? Like, you have 13 cafes. How do you manage that?
So, very, very good question. So we have SOPs in place, but having documents in place is almost like the government having policies in place. It will not work out, unless there is a participatory approach, unless the community understands. It's not just about building toilets, right? It is about having water in the toilets. It's about the community understanding the importance of it. It is not just about, if there is iron deficiency in a particular village, it is not about, giving them iron tablets, but to understand that there is a problem with nutrition in the community, the entire, and again, there are so many layers that, when gender comes into play, etc., etc. So what is most important and what we realize is that, making that SOP is the easy part. There are hundreds and thousands of SOPs available online. It's on the click of a mouse. And every SOP, looks very similar. When you talk about the food and beverage industry, there is FIFO, there is, wet waste, dry waste segregation, there is, that, how do you wipe this, that. So, all of that is simple. What is essential is that, you make your team a part of devising, the SOPs. being a part of understanding, why these things are important. Because if they don't understand, global food hygiene safety standards, they will never be able to follow it, from their heart. And things that work are always the things that work from the heart, is what I believe in. So we do have SOPs in place. We have training modules. I'll just give you one small example, since we also work with adults with mental disabilities, with very mental disabilities or psychiatric disabilities. So for somebody with physical disability, you'll ask them to fill up a jar of a jar with water, and that's it, right? With someone with physical disabilities, they do not have any problem with cognition or thinking. They do not have any mental disabilities. Now for someone with, say, autism or a Down syndrome, which is, again, they are intellectual disabilities, so there are a lot more instructions that come into play. So you have to tell them that, hey, you fill up this jar of water, don't dip your finger inside, don't drink it, don't drop it back. But I mean, once you realize that, once you do that, we have a buddy system in our, cafe. So small, nuts and bolts here and there. And life is not that difficult. Today, I remember the first day that, so Toshit is one of our employees. He's wonderful. A lot of y'all, if you all come into our cafes, you can meet him. He has Down syndrome, and we had ANZ Bank, Australian Bank, was the first corporate to give us a space to start a cafe. So I remember Toshit walks into a ladies' washroom twice, and it's a huge security concern, man. I mean, after being trained, walks into a ladies' washroom, twice, and he is still retained. And you know why? He's retained because the community ensured that he's retained. I mean, setting up a 140 square feet space, getting adults with disabilities, employing them, it doesn't solve the purpose. It is the the competing vendors who stood by Toshit. It is the customers who stood by Toshit. It is the the housekeeping team who stood by Toshit. It is the admin who stood by Toshit. You know why? Because his timing of reporting was 7 a.m. He would report every day at 6:30 a.m. We worked towards we changed our training, tried to understand what is it that we can do to help him understand better. Today at Toshit, he trains other people with both physical and intellectual disabilities. It has been a year and a half for Toshit with us. This happened because the community got together, apart from the SOPs, to ensure that a Toshit is retained. That only happens through community sensitization, employer sensitization, and of course, training that can be customized.
Very valid points, right? Like all of these would go a long way. A question from Hemant. I think what he's trying to say is, do you have to be selfish to do the things, for Mitti Cafe, the cause? I think that's his question. Do you have to be selfish when you're doing going on a project like this? That's what I've understood from his question.
So if I have understood your question right, I will just try to understand in terms of what I have understood. So yeah, I feel I'm a very, very selfish person. And I would say that, when we talk about social work, I have removed it from my dictionary. There is nothing called social work. I feel that it is my social duty. We have for everything. Today we're on a Zoom call. We're talking about, millions of girls dropping out of school. We're talking about millions of, people who are homeless. We're talking about millions who are hungry across the world. And here we are sitting, in this Zoom call, being able to talk to each other. We have a laptop in front of us. We have that map there, right? It is a social debt. The community has done enough and more for us that we cannot repay till we die. And I think that personally, for all that I do, I would say that any decision that you take, there is an opportunity cost associated with it. So for me, I have had to make those decisions. I have had to take that Zoom call when my mother was in the ICU. I have had to do it and made, peace with myself. But at the end of the day, you need to know that, whatever you do, if you're true to your conscience, you need to remember that you're not doing it for anybody else. You're doing it for yourself. I think that whatever I am doing, the amount of benefits that I'm getting, I can sleep well at night. 10 years down the line, when I look back, I would know that, I would be content with myself. And I think these are very, very, very important things for me. I am ambitious for impact. And it is important for me to acknowledge it that I'm not doing things for others. One is that it is my social duty. And if I don't abide by it, I cannot sleep at night. Second is that I know that if I don't do what I'm doing with the kind of capabilities that God has given me, the university, has equipped us with, my family has provided, if I'm not doing this, I will never be able to forgive myself if I still remain one of Nero's guests. So yes, a lot of selfishness there, but you leverage it to the best of your abilities and put it to some use. The world needs more such selfish such selfishness, and I just hope that people realize that there is nothing called social work, but it is our social duty.
Thanks for sharing that perspective, right? Who would have thought selfishness is a virtue in these days? Question again from Hemant, which is, I think, a very important one. So, like, if you go on a break for a year, how will the community move with the same level of energy and confidence? So, what's your plan for sustainability?
So very, very, very important question. So, often when you are, and this is a problem that entrepreneurs have. And as an entrepreneur, I can actually speak for myself that, you find it very difficult to dissociate the organization from yourself. But which is a very, very dangerous thing in the long run. For example, today, if a Kejriwal or a Modi, or somebody who's the face of the organization, and the organization and the person become synonymous, then it is very risky for the organization sustainability. People in and around you, are overshadowed. While it is temporarily fine, because initially you have to do, I did everything from washing dishes to distributing vacancy pamphlets to managing accounts to bringing in money to doing sales. I did everything, right? But as the organization grows, you need to understand that, the organization's capacity and the power that you give to people to build capacity, has to also grow. If you have to slowly, of course, I won't say that it is possible in the first few years, but that should always be your aim, that, you need to ensure that if you're not there for a year, the organization should be able to run without you. And as I have, gone through my journey, I have realized that nobody, including myself, is indispensable if your processes are in place, if your values are in place, and if a culture is set, right? If a culture of corruption or a culture of goodness, it is difficult to break either of the cultures. So it is your duty as the entrepreneur to embed the values, the collective values, the culture of the organization into everybody who's a part of it, and give them power, give them agency. Let go of power. It is difficult. It is very, very difficult, and practically, sometimes it becomes challenging, but it is essential. The entrepreneur cannot become the organization. The organization will die eventually.
Very good point, right? Like, this is something not just entrepreneurs, but we all should be conscious about, separating the self from the organization. Hemant has a few more questions. What is still missing in your whole work, even after having run Mitti Cafe? That's his question.
So actually, it is a paradox, okay? Like, we entrepreneurs, at least I can speak for myself, I sleep better at night, but at the same time, I'm always hungry and thirsty for more impact. Because, once you see a Kirti story and you live a Kirti story and you see hundreds of stories like that, today we've been able to train over 900 adults with disabilities who are working and earning with dignity in and outside Mitti Cafe. So when you're seeing this happen, you would always, aim for more, want more. It is difficult to satiate yourself. And, often that, takes a toll. But this said, it is important to be audacious about whatever your dreams are. And, when you ask that what is it that is missing, I feel that, as an organization, there is 1000x the impact that we can create by strategizing, by exponentially tapping into the resource of the community, globally. Not just, don't restrict yourself to your region. The world is huge and the world is shrinking, with technology, with so many things. So it is important to be audacious. I think, we're taking that leap to be even more audacious. So as an entrepreneur, I think, that's where, I would personally want to go think bigger. Yeah, I mean, and also, your whatever your organization is a direct reflection of what your team is. It's it's the holy grail. You have good people, you invest in good people, your organization will grow. So, personally, I feel that, for us to grow and to scale our impact, talent acquisition is very, very important. It is essential. And I think, that's the next. So being more audacious, and how do you do that? How do you get to it? How do you, get onto the implementation plan? By getting in people who are better than you into the organization.
Thank you for sharing that. Ankit has a question. He's asking you to share it if it's not too personal a question. Who is your mentor? If you can
Yeah, so,
share.
fortunately, like, no, not person at all. I can even, you all can stalk them on LinkedIn. They're very nice. So, so the way it works is that, and this is again very, very important. So when you choose a mentor, so every person would have their strengths and weaknesses. Like, you have your strengths and weaknesses. Your mentor is a human being, has done a lot, and you look up to that person, but would also have their strengths. So it is important for you to uh, so we have a lot of mentors, and we've selected our mentors in terms of, what is it that we lack, what is it that I would personally need coaching in, what is it that the organization needs at this point of time. So whether, in fact, Lan is one of our mentors. He is a part of the foundation. We have Social Venture Partners, which is which was the first organization to cut a check for us, SVP Bangalore. So SVP Kolkata has also incubated us. So we have like mentors from there, and a lot of really, really amazing people who've done great in their life, and now they want to do good for society, and they support us pro bono. We're a part of a lot of incubation centers like Unlimited India, NSR Cell at IIM Bangalore. Again, all credit goes to Nazrul sir, and he was the one who linked us to NSR Cell, and of course, reaching out to our professors, some of our professors like Raj Gopal sir or Nazrul sir. I mean, they've always been there. Then apart from that. We have different mentors for different things, Ankit. If you would specifically need, whether it is to draw up your business plan, whether it is to, break your idea, get you more clarity, get you money, or introduce you, support you with business development. But always remember that whoever you interact with, okay, whether it is your employees, whether it is your donor, whether it is your mentor, always keep it in mind, what is the value add that you are giving to them. It is very, very important, right? Like, whether it is in terms of satisfaction, you need to understand, study what is it that they need. If it is a Mercedes cutting a check for us, what is it that, how would we be valuable to a Mercedes? Would an employee engagement program help? Additionally, what is the value add? So it is, when you think, it is always think about it from the other person's perspective. What is it that you're going to give to the other person for what you need in return? And be very particular about your ask. That helps, Ankit.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Alina.
Ankit has one more question. You talked a lot about diving in and starting, but when you started, did you have a detailed plan, like a 5-year, 10-year plan? And does this mean we learn by doing and experimenting, or would you prefer research and reading?
So both work. Both work. Like, there are people who prefer to really go into in-depth research, and again, depends on what you really want to do. Like, there are different sectors, there are different ways to do what you really want, the impact that you want to create. So for me, I'll just speak for myself. So my style of leadership is to do and learn, to fail and learn, to fail quickly and to learn from other persons. I mean, I think there are enough and more examples across the world of people wanting to do something similar, having similar journeys. Learn from their experiences, you will learn quicker. Like mentors, peers really help. So be a part of, a network like the Social Enterprise Cell at Azim Premji University or other incubation centers, where you get peer support. You learn from each other's stories of success, more importantly of failures. And I think that way it really, really helps. And like I said, that when I started my journey, I had I did not even know what CapEx and OpEx is. I mean, I'm not recommending this to anyone. Everybody should know it. There's no harm in knowing it, but I have learned by doing. And hence, even at Mitti Cafes, while we have training, we call it experiential training, which is what even APU does, right? I mean, unless you do field work, you will never, those theories that we learn will never come alive. So experiential training helps you absorb, learn, pick up, pivot much quicker.
Got it. Ankita, a last question. Could you break down the leech attitude a bit more? How would you break it down?
What attitude?
The leech attitude.
The leech, it's same. So I was rejected at every incubation center, right? I applied to, but I have harnessed something or the other from every incubation center. Whether it is, I had it in my head that irrespective of whether they kick me out or not, I will reach out to them for help again and again and again. And people, generally, a lot of entrepreneurs ask, is it okay to show that you're desperate? I mean, would that work in our favor? Would that not? I would say it works. People like, if you look at psychology, fortunately or unfortunately, people like to see people in a difficult situation and like to help. Give it to them. Show that you need them. Give them that ego boost. I'm just trying to be as candid as possible. And tell them how much you need them. Irritate them to the core. I mean, they will shoo you away. That's the maximum that they can do. And then you'll again come back.
Right.
Right. Thank you for that.
Ask for help, Ankit. I mean, keep asking for help. Out of 10, if you even convert one, it's good. And the other 9 make you so strong that, it gives you more confidence. Once you dare, you fail, you get more confident. Then you're not scared of failing in that way anymore. So do it.
Yeah, those 9 failures are just learning experiences for you to get the 10th one, right? Here's one more question. Can we build strong spaces and communities without being an entrepreneur?
Why not? Of course. I know so many, whether you tag yourself as an entrepreneur or not, whether you tag yourself as, a student of psychology or not, you apply social psychology everywhere. You apply, you are an entrepreneur in so many things. Entrepreneurship, your politics, kya hota? It is, an art of influencing. It is an art of, doing things. So it doesn't have to be an established institution. Whatever you do in your own small way. So, I'll just take one example, and this is actually relevant for all of you all listening to this. This is something that it's a very simple story, but it has been life-changing for me. So there was a high tide and there were millions of starfishes on the seashore. So there was this young girl, she was picking up one starfish, throwing it into the water, the other starfish throwing it into the water. And a wise old man comes and asks her, young girl, what are you doing? She continues to do what she's doing. This time he asks her more assertively, young girl, what are you doing? Does it make any difference? The shore is full of millions of starfishes. Is this some kind of a game? What difference does it make? What she did has changed my life, and I hope it changes your life too. She picks up one starfish, she throws it into the water, and she tells the old man, it made a difference to that one. So for me, my first starfish was Kirti, and every day it is a pursuit to find the other and the other. So however small your efforts may be, it could be life-changing for that one person, and all of y'all have got the opportunity to do that. And money is not what you need. And you can, even if you're doing it for that one person, that I think every effort relates to a form of entrepreneurship. You're doing something on your own for someone. You're influencing someone to do something. And one of my favorite poets says that मेरे सीने में नहीं तो तेरे सीने में सही हो कहीं भी आग लेकिन आग जलनी चाहिए. That is irrespective of whether that ignition is in my heart or yours, irrespective of whether I live or die. That ignition has to continue. And with your action, imagine the number of lives you could inspire. This is your power, and it is important that each of you all recognize it.
Thank you. Thank you, Alina. Thank you, Nikhil, for taking all the questions. It's really, really inspiring.
Thanks for the great question, Ankit. Krunal has a question. He's saying that you're emphasizing self-work again and again. When you said the fight within, finding the right mentors based on your needs and so on. Could you share what has helped you in the self-work?
Self-work matlab? If you could
Uh,
unmute and explain.
Krunal, you wanna explain
Yeah.
self-work?
Basically, Alina, what I was hearing you say was a lot of reflection and a lot of work on self, trying to understand oneself and be aware of strengths, weaknesses, and then building on those things to really, whether it is reaching to community to see what you need or finding the right mentor by understanding your own strengths and weaknesses. And so I hear that a lot of working on self is what you have been indirectly hinting at.
Mhm.
So how you normally do that? Yeah.
So I think a lot of times now I also don't, but I cannot diagnose the problems that I'm facing. Since I'm so much into the problem, I'm a part of the problem. So which is when when you have people outside your circle of doing work, whether it's your board of mentors, advisors, and they advise you because they can look at you from a bird's eye view, right, which you cannot. So I think often those conversations help you not just understanding what they feel about you, but the best of mentors will make you understand, basically make you speak to yourself, which we often are find it very difficult to do while we're so much into the problem. So Krunal, for me, that way my peers, mentors have been very, very influential in helping me introspect, talk to myself, understand the problem, prioritize, because as entrepreneurs we want to do so much, but focus is also very important, and we often lose sight of that. Which is when, if you have someone to nudge you, life becomes easier.
Thanks.
Thanks, Krunal.
Okay, I have a last question from Asrat. Asrat runs a center for specially able kids himself. So he's asking, have you ever seen yourself as a person with disabilities? How do you keep that balance between yourself and your activities?
Such a good question, and thank you so much for that. Okay, I will speak about this. So as a child, and again, one of the reasons why I'm even doing a Mitti Cafe, why I'm so passionate about the disability inclusion space. So while growing up, I was brought up by my grandmother. So she was in crutches, and all that I could see in her as a child, because as children we all have our disabilities. Na khana khilana padta hai, and everything. Somebody has to take care of us. I mean, we're so dependent as children on, on our environment, ecosystem, parents, adults, and all that I could see in my grandmother was abilities. She could cook, she could do clean, she could clean, she could do everything for herself, and additionally did things, so many things for me. So when I went out into the world, and when I looked at the world, I was absolutely baffled that how do I think so different from the way the world thinks? And this was again a hypothesis. I mean, I was not even sure whether what I was thinking was right, which is why I started volunteering with organizations working in the inclusion space that helped me validate that no, boss, it is not wrong. It is the disability in our perception, the larger statistics, which is the problem, and not the 1.2 billion people with disabilities, in the world, or 7 crore in our country. I mean, imagine 1.2 billion people with the potential to contribute to the socio-economic growth of the country, and we ignored them just because of the disability and our perception. And that is something that I felt that had to change. And it is when I could validate what I thought, that it is, this disability is just in your perception. Which is why I started Mitti Cafe. And for those of y'all who don't know why Mitti Cafe is named Mitti Cafe, so Mitti means mud, and why Mitti? Because irrespective of us being so different in terms of society, geography, religion, ideology, falana dhimka, we're all coming from mud, and to mud we'll return eventually. So our existence and our end is the same, despite us being so different. So unity in diversity. And and this world, I think I can, what do I say, I can target Darwin at every step, when he talks about the survival of the fittest, because I feel that this world has survived. This world is because of collaboration and coexistence by celebrating, what our university does, celebrating, unity and diversity. That's the only way, with collaboration, with cooperation, with coexistence, with peace, that this world can be what it should be. And, which is again the reason why this world is what it is. There is a lot of kindness in the world.
Sorry, as a science teacher, I have to come in there. This is a common, I believe this is a misconception about Darwin. He actually said that it's not survival of the fittest. People say that, but it's not what he actually said. He said the one most adaptable, the most receptive to change, and that is the one who survives. And that is what I can see in your story, in Mitti Cafe story, and in the story of all the people you're working with, right? So 1 point to Darwin, I'd say.
I'd give that to you, Nikhil.
Yeah. Utkarsh has brought to my attention that I missed out on one of his questions. He's asking, have you ever tried looking for a co-founder besides a community?
Okay. So when I talk about talent acquisition, so see, everything is not rosy, okay? So when I started my journey, I got in 3 co-founders, all the 3 ran away. So, so I was the only one who survived. And but yeah, we have wonderful co-directors. And it is, when you start your journey, it is always good to have a co-founder, because entrepreneurship as a journey is lonely. So if not a co-founder, please enroll yourself into. There are a lot of free ecosystems that you can be a part of. You need not get incubated, although you should try to get incubated somewhere. Even if you don't, there are a lot of open access groups. Please be a part of that, because I think your mental well-being is very, very, very important. And when you're in your entrepreneurship journey, there's just so much happening. You need someone, and you need someone who can feel it with you. It gives you a lot more confidence. And again, someone who like Elon Musk says, that the people you're working with really have an influence on even your performance. So get the right person with the right passion, and it's okay to part ways if things are not working out. But getting in good talent into the organization is the only way you can grow your organization. As a co-founder, now we have wonderful co-directors. In fact, we have like an all women's leadership team. Not that we intended to keep it all women. I mean, it just happened. But wonderful women out there, and in fact, all my co-directors are women now. But the first 2 years, I did it, with my team on the field. I was a solo founder.
There's one last question which I want to take again from Asrat. Don't you think that even the word disability is biased?
I know. So again, when you talk about the UN, the permissible terminology that we use is persons with disability. So different people, some people would call persons with disabilities, differently abled or specially abled. I would personally say that, disability is nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, each of us, you rightly mentioned, it is like, we all have our set of disabilities, at some point or the other. And if somebody doesn't have a hand, if somebody doesn't have a leg, if somebody has an intellectual disability, they have a disability. It is important to accept that and see beyond that. So disability as a term is nothing to feel insulted about, is what I feel.
That's an outstanding answer, Alina. That's an outstanding answer. There's no point giving flowery words to some of these things and forget the reality. Yeah.
Thanks, Alina. Thanks for all your candid answers. There was a lot of inspiration there. I think if there's anyone in the audience who has not yet thought of being a social entrepreneur, this will certainly change their minds. My takeaway from the session is, let us all be leeches. So that's what I'm going to leave the session with. Any final words
selfish.
from you?
And
yes,
selfish.
And desperate. Yeah. And desperate.
Yes.
And have faith.
Yeah.
And be adamant.
That too.
You should come and take a session.
I would love to.
Yeah, you can come and take a session at Azim Premji University one of these days.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Yes, Alina, any final words from you before we close the session?
No, I mean, it is, I think APU as an institution has, when I said that you guys are the culprit, you really are. I think, all the classes that I've missed, all the field work that you've allowed me to do, even beyond the curriculum, all the questions that you've asked, you've allowed me to ask, I think has shaped whatever we're doing at Mitti Cafe today. Nero emerged out of one of the classes at APU. And I think it is just each of y'all hearing this have the potential to do something for that, even if it's for that one person, imagine it's their entire person's life. Always remember, to end with what I just said, that irrespective of whether the ignition is in my heart or yours, that ignition has to stay alive, and it is our social duty to make it stay alive. Nothing is social work. And the world will change for the better. All the best to all of y'all. And I am there. Just, ping me on LinkedIn. My, y'all can share my email ID. Anybody wants to write to me, I'm most welcome to take your questions one-on-one. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to all the wonderful people. I can see so many of my classmates here. I can see Suhavan. I mean, I can see Vibha is here. Oh, it's so good to see you. And Padma, thank you for the opportunity. Raj Gopal sir, Nazrul sir. I mean, you guys have been amazing. And
we were all being selfish, We were all being selfish in the same definition. Yeah.
No, and thank you so much, Nikhil, for hosting this so well. Very forever grateful, and keep calling me. I think I'm indebted to this institution, and I would just love to come back. It is, again, I would be selfish to come back again and again. So.
Thanks, Alvina.
Thank you so much.
Truly inspirational listening to your story. We love your energy, your enthusiasm, and passion. I don't know if we can put a limit to that. 5 on 5, 10 on 10. Anything is less for you.
But remember, it started with 1 out of 5. So
yes,
it always starts from there.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Wonderful to have you with us. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye and all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.